In my previous video, I did this upper part of the firewall. Now I've got to do this bottom section where it transitions into the floor and build a tunnel across the transmission. Coming up. So that's what it currently looks like here on the inside. I've got this piece in place. Now I've got to do this section that transitions into the floor and build a tunnel that go across here. And then also still, of course, the floor down here itself and the tunnel all the way through to the back. It's a right royal mess here though. I mean, it's completely rotten. So I'm gonna cut this out so I can replace it with some good metal before we start building this part. So it's really rusty in here. And it's quite difficult to get in here with a grinder. So I got this little toy sandblasting thing. I want to see if I can clean it up with this. I borrowed it from my buddy Knowles at Crazy Customs. I have no idea if it's going to work. Let's give it a shot. Well, it does seem to remove the rust. It's quite slow though. It's going to take a while and it's going to make a big mess. But let's keep trying. Well then, it's extremely slow, but it works if you're not in a hurry. And there is now blasting grit everywhere. I can even feel it between my teeth. So I've now made a paper template for this patch piece that must go in here. So I can go and cut that out. And this rotten mess you see there, that's on the outside of the cap. I'll worry about that later. So I'm using 3mm hardboard to create these templates here. That would be 1/8 of an inch thick in Imperial system. It's much stiffer than hardboard, so it's great for certain applications. So I buy a sheet of it once in a blue moon, and then I'm set up for quite some time to make up templates as required. So I cut it out, I do a rough cut with a jigsaw, and then I fine tune it with a sharp block plane, and then you can get a really good fit and a very accurate template. So I'm almost there. I've just got to make another rough cut, maybe something like that. Once I've done the tunnel piece, I will fine tune this edge. So I think I've got a pretty good fit here now, so I can take my pieces out. I've been holding it down with a magnet and a clamp, hey, whatever it takes, eh? Okay, and this one as well. So I can now go and cut these pieces out. I just installed this one here temporarily to provide me a landing. I'm going to take it out when I've made up the plate. So the nice thing about using hardboard for templates is that you can actually scribe your edges, because the template material is nice and stiff. So you can actually make very accurate templates if you do it this way. So since I do have scribed lines, I prefer to do this kind of cutting with a grinding disc. Just gives a nice clean cut and it's accurate as well. So that's my preferred method. Okay, let's give it a bend here. I wonder if that's enough. I've got my bevel gauge. A little bit more. Yes, I think that ought to do it. Let's go give it a try. Okay, let's see. So with a bit of luck it will fit. That's not too bad. I've got to clean it up in a few spots, but it's fitting pretty well. I must cut this down a little bit. But for the rest of it, it looks pretty good. So before I stick in this piece of flaw, I just quickly built this linkage here for the gear shift. It's just easier to do it now, and I don't have a gear shift, so I'm going to build my own. But at least now I've got the linkage, so we can shift gears. I'll do the rest of it later. Right, so now I can stick in my flaw section. Should fit perfectly now. There we go. I don't know if you can see, I drilled some holes down here because I'm planning to do plug welds here. As for the rest of it, it'll just be tacks. So I'm just going to clamp it into place. That needs to sit there. No, it looks pretty good. I think I can tack this plate into place now. Let's do it. So a T-handle push stick like this works really well for holding down like I'm doing here. I've just made it up from some scrap bits of tubing and a bit of rebar in this case, because it's what I had at the time. So you can make them up in various lengths and they work really well. Just burned a hole. This plate is so thin. Anyway, we'll sort that out. I think I must just get my welding helmet. Right, I also lowered the volts on my machine a little bit. So hopefully now it will go better. Okay, lekker man, so my first bit of firewall slash floor is in place, and I've got to repeat the exercise on this side. So I jammed in this wooden stick here in between the dashboard and my section of floor. Hey, whatever it takes to hold things in place until you can get them tacked up, man. It actually works very well. It's a technique I use quite often, and especially if your stick is quite thin and a little bit springy, and you can jam it between a point somewhere and your piece of plate that you need to hold on. It works really well. So with both these sections in place now, I've got to start thinking about my tunnel. And to create that template, because I want to make a template first, I think I'm just going to tack in these bits of round bar like that. This is 6mm, 1/4 inch. I don't think I'll leave them in place. This is just going to help me to make my template. I might take them out. I'll see down the line. Well, where's my ruler? I just heard the thing. Okay. Right, so I just want to line this up. That, I think that's going to be good. Now that looks pretty good. With a light tack on this side. and kind of make sure it's center. Right, I think I'm going to actually add at least one more, possibly even two. It's going to go cut a few lengths quickly. Right, so I reckon the next one about here somewhere. I'm just going to eyeball it until it looks good. I think that can work. I'm probably going to burn my finger now. Okay, now I'm just going to sight it through here, move it around a little bit so that it is parallel with the first one. That looks good. And then another one here. Something like that. Well, that is, I'm sighting it through here again to see that it's parallel, so that I end up with a nice tapered piece. Looks to be about there somewhere. Actually going quite far in, but I still think that's enough room for pedals and all the rest of it. Yeah. I'm going to do the same on this side. I think I'm just going to get a piece of cardboard, stick it across here just to see where that end line is. It's going to be... Okay, let's see where we end up. If I stick this piece of cardboard across here, it will be sitting something like that. So, roughly there somewhere. I think I have more than enough space here for my brake pedal and throttle. I don't have the clutch pedal because we're running an auto box. So I think this is actually going to be fine. So my tunnel will connect somewhere there. I think it can work. But what is nice about this is if it moves away from the transmission a little bit, if you ever need to work in here from below, there is a bit of space. In previous build I made the mistake of making the tunnel so close to the transmission, and then you can really struggle to get in there. So I don't want to do that again. Pardon my dirty feet, I just want to double check that I've got enough foot space here. I think it's going to work fine. Throttle, brake. If you're on the open road, I suppose I could put my brake foot here. Or maybe even up there. I mean, even if I wanted to, I can't provide a resting space for it next to the brake pedal, because then I just move too close to the gearbox. So it is what it is, but I think it's gonna work. Jeez, just looking at these feet now, if my wife sees this, she'll have a heart attack. Okie dokie, so I've added some bars on this side as well. And now my paper can lie very nicely on these bars. So now it's just a matter of actually getting it to fit. Just going to do some rough cuts here first of all. And then we will work our way along, cutting and checking and carrying on until we get a nice fit for the paper template. Well, quite some time later, and this messy business is the result. I can see some headaches ahead. But anyway, let's take it off and go give the whole business a try. See where we end up. Okay, let's see. So I'm going to cut a piece of 18 gauge steel to this shape, and then we'll roll it, and then we see if we can make it fit. Just looking at this, I think I'm going to have a problem now. This is 65 centimeters is 26 inches for my friends in America and Canada. Oh, damn it, man, this is 673. That's centimeters, so this is too long. It's not going to fit through there. Damn it. Oh, well, I guess I'm going to have to cut off a piece there. I don't want to do that, but I'm going to have to. Oh well. I wish my homemade contraption was a little bit longer. It works really well. But yeah, I found these rollers in a junkyard and they were perfect. But that's the length they are. Man, I wish they were a little bit longer. Just a quick explanation of how my roller works. So the top roller, there are 3 rollers here. The top one is not driven, it's free. And the 2 bottom ones are connected with chain. These are actually bicycle sprockets and a bit of bicycle chain. So when you turn the handle, then it also turns the one on the other side. So by adjusting the top roller down and up and down, you determine the curve that you want to roll. So the more you turn it down, the tighter that curve becomes. See how this roller moves down when I turn that T-handle? Goes down, and because it's going down, it makes the curve go tighter and tighter. So I've got an offcut piece in here. I tighten my T-handle and you can see how the roller is moving down. Now when I turn my handle, I start getting my curve. I can tighten it down a bit more. And you see that the radius tightens up. Pretty cool, huh? I really don't want to cut it off. This is going to cause me problems down the line. But I guess I've got no choice. And it will also help if I plug in the grinder. Okay, let's try again. What is going on here? Right, let's try one more time. Okay, let's stick this thing into my homemade roller. I've marked the center line and some more lines parallel to that. So that means I can now line that up with my roller to make sure that my curve sits in the right place. That's half. That's half. Just to get a feel for it, I'm tightening it the same on either side. So let's give it a roll and see what happens. Half, one, half, one. Half, one, and another half, half, one, and another half. So before I go any further, I think I just need to check it against the template. I made up this hardboard template to have the same radius as this member here. So I'm going to use this to check my piece of plate. It looks to me like I've actually rolled it a little bit too much. But that's not a problem, we can always just open it up. Let's take it out and have a proper look. Yeah, I was right. Can you see? A little bit too much, but that's okay. Doesn't matter. Close enough. Well, I've got a very smart looking tunnel section here now. But how it's going to fit is another story. I tell you, there are so many curves and planes and intersecting angles. I'm telling you, I'm going to be in for a fight. Let's see how it goes. So I've removed my round bar pieces, I don't need them anymore. So let's see how this thing fits. And it doesn't fit at all. There's a huge gap here. Why? I got it figured, I'm such an idiot. That initial paper template I made was cone shaped, meaning the radius here and here were different. And I of course rolled this piece with the same radius right through. So the radius here and the radius here is the same. And that's why we've got the big gap here and why it's not fitting. Makes sense to me now. But actually I prefer this because it does give me a little bit more leg room. So I think I'm going to carry on with this and I'm just going to do it some trimming and fiddle with it until I can get it to fit. Right, so after messing around with this thing for quite some time, I finally got it to fit very nicely. I mean, I had it in and out, checking and measuring and cutting and trimming and fitting. But here we are. I've got a very good fit down here, up there. It's a slight gap up there. I think I might just fit a little trim piece in there. But seeing as I've got such a good fit here on both sides, I think I'm going to tack it into place before it goes anywhere. Well, that section is in place. So next up will be this piece running across here. So just using a piece of offcut, I made up this to run across here. So then I now will know what the width is of this piece that goes down here. Because this fits in just perfectly across there. It started raining, so that background noise here is the rain on my tin roof. So I cut a piece of 18 gauge plate, the same width as my little template I made. And the length is what I can get through my roller. So now I can stick it in here and we can start rolling to make that next panel section. Just line it up here to make sure that it's parallel to the rollers. And I'm going to give it same amount of turns on each side. Let's do 1 year and a half. 1 year and a half. Let's see what we get. Needs to be more than that. Half and 1. Half and 1. Let's try again. That rain is really coming down now. It's actually getting quite noisy in here. Alright, a little bit more, so let's give it another half, 1, 1.5 on this side, half, 1, 1.5 on that side. I reckon it's pretty close now. I'm just going to go check in the car quickly. So I measured this distance here in the cab at 250. Now I'm here at about 235. Slightly overrolled, but it doesn't matter. I think we should go and give it a try. Okay, let's see. That needs to go like there somewhere. I think I want to take it through. So I need to provide a little bit of clearance there. But yeah, not a bad first try. I think it's going to work well. Okay, let's see. Hey, not bad for a first try. I think I've impressed myself. So this time I remembered to roll this piece into more of a cone shape. I had to do that because this radius here is bigger than this one. So I could manage that more of a cone shape by tightening down the roller on the one side of my little slip roller more than the one on the other side. Of course, now I had to do this third piece because my little machine did not allow me to roll a long enough piece here and a long enough piece here. It is what it is, but I think this will work. So I've just got to fine tune it a little bit here and cut it so that it lines up with these two lines, and then we can probably weld it into place. So I got everything firmly clamped into place, and now I can just mark this line here, which is where I need to cut it. Okay, so I can take this piece out now. So I'm starting to think I shouldn't actually weld this piece in place. I've still got to build a shifter, the gear shifter that needs to sit here somewhere. So if I make this piece removable, it'll just make working on all of that much easier. So I think I need to look at attaching this thing with some bolts. Then I can remove it if need be. So if I do this piece first, bend the lip on it, then I will have a landing for fastening this section. Bendy. Bendy a little bit more. That's probably close enough. Cool, man, so I've got this section in place now with the flange there. I've made another piece for this side. So now my section that sits here can be fastened onto that flange. I can bolt and fasten it across here as well. And then it can be removed if need be. Awesome, man, I like it. Measure. Mark and then cut. Bend. Check fit and mark and fine tune as necessary. So when it comes to good layout and accurate fits, these Sharpie pens just don't work for me. I mean, that line is about 1/8 of an inch wide already, 3 millimeters, and I like to have it more accurate. So I'm a big fan of scribing lines, and then I can get accurate cuts. And once I've scribed my line, I can now accurately cut it with the cutting disc on my grinder. I've heard the term zip cut a lot. That's not a term we use in South Africa, but yeah, you boys in America, I then zip cut it to that scribed line, and then I get a good fit. I go through these things like my wife goes through a slab of chocolate. And I like them as much as she likes the chocolate. So I buy them in bulk and I pay about $50 a pop when I do that. So at that price, I'm happy. So now I gotta struggle with my El Tipo bead roller again. I've gotta take some time to brace up this thing a little bit and improve it. It works, but there's a lot of flex in it, which is not a good thing, and there's quite a few things that can be improved quite easily. I've just got to get around to doing it. This quick wheel I fitted is already a big improvement. It's much better than that crank handle, because if you've got the crank handle on, you basically need two people to bead roll. At least now I can kind of do it myself. So the biggest flaw with these cheap bead rollers is that this frame is not sturdy enough and you get some movement and some flex. So what essentially means is when you apply pressure here and you do your bead rolling, the frame flexes like this, and these two plates are not parallel anymore. So one needs to beef this up to improve the situation. I'm just going to show you how much flex you get. So the roller here is still tightened down onto the plate as we've been bead rolling, as you can see. And look here, this straight edge in the bottom, it's clamped flush against that bottom flange. And there in the top is a gap to show you the reflection. If I measure it here, I see 7 millimeters, more than a 1/4 inch. You can also see that these two blocks are not lined up anymore. So that deflection that you get in this frame causes problems, which is why I will need to stiffen up this business. Okay, lekker man. Finally, all my jigsaw pieces are assembled. So none of these pieces are welded yet. Currently I've just got them screwed down. So I don't have any of those Clico things. They're hard to find here in South Africa. So instead I'm using these, they are known as tech screws down here. It's like a self-tilling screw to hold things down temporarily, and actually they work very well. They might even be working better than a Clico, because you can apply some pressure, and they even come with a little rubber washer. So if you don't want to mar your metal, you leave the rubber washer in place, and then yeah, that will prevent any scratching. So my plan is now to spot weld in holes like these, for instance, and once that is held in place, I'll take these screws out and then I can spot weld in there as well. So this is just a temporary arrangement to hold things in place for me. And then my removable section, I drilled and tapped through these holes. So I can now undo my little set screw here if I want to and take it off. Yeah, now so as it goes, I don't have enough fasteners, but I think I'll get some nice little cap screws and then we can have this finished. And then this offers me the opportunity now to actually unscrew this and take it off for access. And later on, when I bolt cut open here for my shifter, I can work on it and yeah, get in here if I want to. I was talking nonsense, eh? It's not a spot weld, it's a plug weld. I suppose I could grind these plug welds flush, but I'm going to leave them like that. Kind of reminds me of rivets. I like that look. Not that it matters anyway, because down the line the floor will probably get covered with sound insulation and maybe even carpeting. But in the meantime, it's just going to look cool as it is. Hey man, I think we can safely say that my floor is now done. Whoopee! Okay, I still have to do this section, and it will form part of a repair I need to do to the back of the cab. But my back is finished now, so I'm going to call it a day. Thanks for hanging out with me. I enjoyed it. I'll see you guys in the next video. Until then, have a lekker one.